Welcome to the Art Lady channel. Today's lesson is on the dodo bird, and this happens to be one of my students' favorite extinct animals. Whenever I start the lesson and we talk about extinct animals, they always bring up the dodo bird. This is a very simplified version that young children can make, and it's going to show you how to do this step by step, and I hope you enjoy the lesson. The dodo bird became extinct in the 1600s, and it was a bird that lived exclusively on the Mauritius Islands of East Africa. And this bird was originally 3 feet tall, and he or she weighed between 23 and 39 pounds, so it was a pretty big bird. If you use a measuring stick, it is the size of the measuring stick, which is 3 feet. Scientists, since most of the dodo birds' remains were destroyed through time, and they weren't preserved back in the 1600s, scientists just have to guess on what the dodo bird looked like. Since he was related to our modern day pigeons, they're going by the pigeon colors. So it's brownish gray feathers, they believe, and they believe he had a balding head, or a bald type head. Very little feathers, that would be. To start off the paper, we're using, this is the 9 by 12, the long way's this way. Now, the whole long way is not, the whole paper's not in the picture. I have to, see how I have to move it so that you can see the bottom and then you can see the top. So we want to find first, we're going to work up the top half first, and then we'll go to the bottom. So we want to find from the top to the bottom of our page, we want to find the middle. So watch, estimate, or you could fold it lightly like I just did. But my class that's with me now, we're putting this in a book, so we're not going to fold it. We're just going to estimate. So we go top, bottom, and find the middle. Estimate the middle. And what we do is we put our finger right on the middle, and we're going to put a line. See, my finger's right on the very center of this page. Now I'm going to do a straight line right above it. The straight line is a little bit wider, do you see that, than my finger. So you're going to go ahead and do that now. The straight line directly above the center. My fingernail is right on the very center, top, bottom, side, side. Now I'll slide it down so you can see. This is the top of my page. Above that, I'm going to do another line. Then I'm going to go to the very top of this page. Here's the top middle. And I'm going to go next to the top middle and jump down right near my fingernail. So if I make this line directly next to my fingernail, see that? Here's the end of my fingernail. Just come over next to it and put a line. My fingernail is sitting right on the middle of my page. Side, side, that's the middle. I want the one line to the right. So do that now. Those are the guidelines. Now I'm going to simply make a curve. This is almost like a dot to dot. I take this, watch me first because I'm going to go slow, and you'll see the beautiful curve I'm going to make, and then you make it. So if you watch carefully, I first start off at this top line, and I'm going to come down and start curving. See how I curve? And then I'm going to come back like this, and I stop right here. So I do a curve, and then I stop. Stop before you get to the end here.
It looks like a 2.
It kind of looks like a 2. Okay, do that now. Do that now. Remember I said do not erase if you make a mistake. Draw right on top, and then we fix this later. Now we're going to connect together. So it does almost look like a 2. The next step is up here. So we're going to focus on the top of the dodo bird's head. I'm going to come down, curve it slightly down. Then I'm going to go around like a letter C. See how I'm forming a curve, almost like a C curve. Now we're going to bring this in, curve it in, and around. Don't go all the way down. I've curved in and around. I'm going to do a small dot in the very middle of this. Small circle. You can color that in. And then I'm going to go around this again, so it almost looks like a donut. That is his eye. Now I'm going to curve directly under his eye. See how I brought this around? This looks like the backwards letter C. Look at that. That's backwards though, isn't it? Under here, I'm going to put a straight line directly underneath the eyeball. Now, if you think about your playground, you go down a slide, so come out and down a slide. How many of you have slid on the slide before? Next step is to come right underneath here. We're going to come down. See how I did a little mini slide? Down, but I did not connect my line, did I? Next step is to come over with a point. Come right to the point. So now I have a little sharp beak on this bird. The dodo bird was something like a penguin. It walked upright, but then it also swam in the water. And it did have a sharp, pretty large beak. Now it had another section that came out from here. So we're going to come down straight. And it had another bump, so it came bumped out. So I went down with a straight and I have a bump. It almost looks like a mini banana. The bottom has some curves, so I come from this line here. I'm going to come out with a tiny line. Let me get it a little bit bigger so you can see some of this detail. Now this tiny line, I swoop right to the center of the beak. And now I'm going to connect this curve to this area where we came under the eye. So watch this line. It's going to curve like this. So that was a pretty complicated head shape, but if you do it in little steps, and you can always adjust it. If your beak isn't big enough, you can make it a little bit bigger to scale. Now we're going to do the neck. See where the little mouth comes from underneath the eyeball? We're going to skip right to the edge here, and we're going to go diagonally down. Now we're going to work up the wing. So since we're done the head, I'm going to bring it back to my size. This original line, remember we found the middle of our paper and we put our finger there. We drew a straight line above the very center. Now we're going to go curving it down, curve down. We're going to do a C curve, come down and around, and now we're going to add some feathers. This is a kind of a small wing. This bird, just like a penguin, does not fly. He has a wing, but the wings are so small it can't support his heavy body. So now watch, let's get some feathers. 1, 2, 3. We're going to start forming the feathers of the wing. Now I'm going to curve back and curve back and curve back to the wing. This is mainly probably why the dodo bird became extinct. He was easy for the people to catch. Now we're going to go under the wing. Let's find the wing. I'm going to scoot this up so you can see the bottom of the page here. Here's the bottom of my page. Find your wing, find your bottom of the page. Estimate the center, the middle, and put a little line. We're going to now make a curve. We're going to curve out with the belly of the bird. The belly comes out to our line, so watch me first, and then you can compare to the side of your paper to your bird. I'm going to come out. See how I come diagonally down and out? And I'm going to round this right to the line I drew. Okay, go ahead and do that now. You come out with a little belly and come back to your middle line. The line we just drew. We're going to do our tail area next. I'm going to curve down just slightly diagonal, so it curved down. I'm going to skip a little space, and I'm going to curve around again. But when I curve around, look, I'm leaving a space here. I'm not connecting. A slight curve. So it almost forms a big circle right here. This area is going to be a little tail feathers that stick up. I'm going to come up and over to the edge of my page. A nice curve. Notice there's a lot of curves in this bird. And then I'm going to do some more, a shorter curve and a real small curve as it dips downward. And of course, your tail feathers, you can make lots of feathers in here. You can have it just 3. You can end it any way you want to if you just want to do with a zigzag like this. That's fun. Or just bring it back like we did the wing feathers. And then I'm going to just add, I'll add another little feather right here just to connect that space. So now we have the tail. Now we're going to work on the legs. I'm going to slide this up a little bit so you can see the bottom of my page. This is the bottom of my page right here. Okay? So from the bottom, I'm going to make one leg coming down this way. So from this area, I'm going to come diagonal down and diagonal down. This is his front leg. This is the side of the leg that is closest to us. Notice I did not touch the bottom of my page. I went about halfway down. Now I'm just giving some jagged up and back zigzag line. This is showing the feathers are ending. So it has a zigzaggy texture. Then we're going to do 2 straight lines that are thin, skinnier together. And he's got 3 toes in the front. 1, 2, 3. And notice I go right off the page. They're pretty big. And he has one short one back here. Now on these, I'm going to come over and go back. Come over, go back. Over, and go back. Now I'm going to come back on this bottom here. And you can add some claws. This comes out and curve. I don't have any room for claws at my bottom though. That's fine. The next leg we're going to make is the one that's on the other side of the bird. This is a side view dodo bird, so we only see one of the eyes. The other eye is on the other side of his head, so we don't make 2 eyes. As an artist, we draw only what we can see. So we only see one eye, so we're going to draw one eye. This is going to be the leg on the other side. We can see this. So we're going to draw, but this leg is smaller, so we're going to make it smaller. So I'm going to come down diagonal and diagonal. They came inward. Same thing with this side, zigzag, 2 straight lines down. This leg is smaller because it's on the other side of the bird. Things get smaller in perspective as they go farther away. Now we're going to add a toe, and the backwards one. And this smaller toe comes over here. I'm going to bring it over, down, and back. So now I'm connecting all the toes back to the bird, and then I can add my claws. I just curve down and back. This claw will be behind that toe, and that claw is going to be behind this foot. And there is my claw. Now, if you want to put, and I like adding this up at the top corner because our name will come down here. Now, in this area here, let's do underneath the date. We're going to write Dodo.
Oh, I know how to spell
Dodo, D-O-D-O, bird.
Dog's name. So why did I name him that?
Your dog's called Dodo?
Yeah.
That's cute. D-O-D-O, and then capital B-I-R-D, dodo bird. Now, I'm going to have you decorate your dodo bird, and I'm going to have you color it in. I guess you could do it any color you want to. We don't have a lot of records of what the dodo bird, even his skeletal remains, because they didn't preserve them. They didn't realize that the dodo bird wasn't in other places of the world. Back in the 1600s here, 1660, they thought the dodo birds were all over the world. They didn't realize that the dodo bird was only on the Mauritius Islands in East Africa.
Yep, I knew that.
They thought they were everywhere. But these birds were special. They lived only on that island.
Yep, I knew that.
So they didn't save a lot of things for the dodo bird. So you may decorate and color the dodo bird any way you'd like using your imagination, because we don't quite know exactly what he looked like. To color the dodo bird in, when they researched exactly what colors it could possibly be, since it's related to like a pigeon, one of the pigeon families, even though it doesn't fly like your penguins, it's related to the pigeon families. So they believe it was a grayish brown, so gray-brown feathers. And they said it had lots and lots of tail feathers here. So lot of big, large plumage here. And they believe that the head was bald. So I'm going to do mine lightish pinkish yellow on the top of the head, going into gray-brown feathers. And then this will be yellowy orange beak area here. I'm going to show you how I finished off the dodo bird with crayon, and then I'm going to do some paint on top. But I wanted to give a gray, kind of a grayish brown feel to this, so I'm going to paint brown paint on top of my crayons, but I wanted to show you a close-up of how I colored in the light feathers. And I did gray and some purple and little bits of like tan or brown feathers down here. And since the dodo had, scientists say that they think that the dodo was bald, I did more of a pink skin texture up in the top here. And then with the beak, I did some orange and yellow orange on top. And then for the background, I'll show you down here, I just did some swirls of a lime green crayon. And I pushed pretty hard, because then when I paint on top, it's going to resist, and this will show up as texture. And then the toes, I just did some stripes of yellow-orange crayon. Now I'm ready to add some watercolor paints to this to finish my dodo bird picture. Pan watercolors will work for this right here, or I even just use tempera cakes too. I like them both. The small tempera cakes or large, doesn't matter. If you're using the tempera cakes, I got this nice brown here. I'm going to try this one. You're going to water it down to a nice consistency and then apply it. So the tempera works just as well. And you can see how it's actually resisting my color so that the texture of the feathers shows through. And scientists believe that they were kind of a grayish brown bird. That's why I did a lot of gray and light purple feathers for texture. And then I'm painting it with a light brown. Now if you add more water to it, it'll even be a lighter value as it dries, because this paint will dry a little bit lighter than what you see here. So I'm doing a watered down version of this. And then over at the top here, I'm just going to do very light brown through the top head. And so I'm going to finish this up this way, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Here's a close-up of how I finished off the dodo bird. I used some orange and red tempera paint and watercolors in his face area, and then I put a little bit of pinky brown on top here for the balding head. Then I'll show you close as we go down how I did the colors, the browns, and then I'll show you his feet here. And then I did light washes of green, and then I came back with some darker green on top. And then my sky was a very light wash of teal. So I'll show you the overall look. Let's see here. And there is my overall look of the dodo bird. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and if you like these type of videos, please subscribe so you'll get notifications on when I upload new content.